The sight of the decrepit mansion rising through the mist sent a chill through me. Even before the taxi's tires crunched to a stop at the end of the weed-split driveway, I stepped out, gravel and cracked pavement biting through my worn shoes, my meager bags feeling suddenly heavy in my hands. The driver gave me an uneasy look as he turned the car around. "You sure you got the right place, bud? Don't look like no one's been here for years." I glanced up at the crumbling walls. The jagged roofline slumped against the gloom. This is it. My inheritance. The taxi left me there alone, taillights disappearing into the fog. Silence engulfed me, broken only by the rustle of overgrown brambles stirred by a biting autumn wind. The gate creaked ominously as I entered the grounds, weeds cracking through every crack in the stone walkway. I drew my jacket tighter against the cold. The full extent of the estate only became clear as I traversed the winding path. Once manicured gardens now surrendered to crawling ivy and thrusts of wild roses, autumn-wilted blooms perfuming the air with a sickly sweetness. Through tangled branches, I spotted collapsed outbuildings, roofs caved in by decades of harsh winters. All had been left to fade back into nature's embrace. At the massive oaken door, I hesitated, staring up at the imposing facade. What secrets lay within these crumbling walls? 30 years ago, my great-uncle had shut himself inside, severing ties with extended family and community to become a recluse. Some called him disturbed, even deranged, whispering rumors of bizarre experiments and occult studies behind these barred windows. The decades since had only magnified the legends. Steeling myself, I grasped the wrought iron handle, peeking through cobwebs clustering the dusty panes on either side. Beyond, all was swallowed by darkness. The door creaked open, exhaling dank, stale air. I fumbled for the flashlight tucked in my jacket pocket. Its pale circle illuminated debris strewn across the entryway's warped floorboards. Dust eddied in the stagnant air, erasing all traces of the previous inhabitant. What had gone on within these now empty rooms? My soft steps echoed as I navigated the labyrinth of deserted chambers. Cobwebs drifted from the chandelier in a delicate lace. Faded sheets draped over looming furniture. The pervasive dust muted every surface, coating my tongue with each breath. An oppressive stillness gripped the hollow house. Even so, I could not escape the creeping sensation of a lingering presence, just out of sight. Every creak and groan of the old mansion put my nerves on edge. I paused often, skin prickling as phantom sounds registered at the edge of perception before fading back to silence. Just tricks of an overactive mind, I told myself. And yet, an undeniable sense of wrongness permeated the stagnant halls. These rooms held more than just emptiness. I came across my great-uncle's study, its state hinting at the frenzied descent into madness in his final weeks. Books and strange artifacts littered the floor amid crumpled pages scrawled with cryptic passages. A journal lay open on the desk, its last entry a spiral of letters dissolving into incoherence. Dread crawled through me as I pictured his isolated mind collapsing in on itself, consumed by obsession. The last traces of daylight faded as I descended a cramped staircase to the cellar, guided only by the bobbing flashlight beam. The dank chill seeped into my bones. Unseen things skittered away from the light. Strange symbols marked the clammy stone, revealing the darker fixations that had dominated my great-uncle's final years. But it was the sight in the far corner that turned my blood to ice. A withered corpse stared back from the shadows, skin stretched tight over bone, empty sockets gaping. Though shriveled almost past recognition, I knew it was the remains of my great-uncle. Revulsion and pity churned inside me. He had died alone down here, forsaken. But what unknown torments had he endured at the end? I knew then that whatever sinister forces had consumed him still clung to this hollow house. An intangible darkness had permeated these stones over decades of isolation and madness. Somehow, it was now my inheritance to bear. The next morning dawned gray and heavy. I sat vigil in the dust-choked study, rereading passages scrawled in my great-uncle's journal. References to strange sounds troubled me most. Whispers he heard echoing through the walls. I strained to hear anything beyond the creaking mansion, but only silence filled its neglected rooms. Sleep did not come easily that first night. I lay rigid, straining for the whispered voices described with such dread in the journal's pages. At the cusp of dreaming, hushed murmurs teased my ears before slipping away. By the third day, weariness blurred my vision. I paced the mansion's endless corridors, no longer looking for material clues, but traces of the phenomena my great-uncle had become obsessed with. I called out questions that echoed unanswered down the dusty halls. What did these entities want? Why torment an old man driven to madness? Why remain here even in death? My solitary confinement wore on my psyche. I glanced repeatedly over my shoulder, sensing movements in my periphery that vanished when I turned. Vague human shapes flickered at the edges of rooms, teasing my vision before retreating into stillness. The lines between waking and dreaming began to blur. The hidden door beneath the servants' stairs hinted at the true darkness I had inherited. Grotesque symbols marked the chiseled walls of rooms delving deep below the foundation. Frigid air laced with the stench of decay permeated the maze-like passageways. The piercing bitterness kept me alert, though my flashlight revealed sights that shook my sanity. Inhuman figures stalked my periphery, flickering rapidly between existence and nothingness. Their blurred shapes and skittering movements filled the nightmare labyrinth, herding me like frightened prey. When I turned to face them directly, only frigid darkness filled my vision. But their presence remained constant, just beyond the limits of perception. I cannot recall when my fear turned to resignation. My revulsion became intrigue. Some revelations come only at the cost of sanity. The voices rose from urgent whispers to deafening chorus, promising answers if I shed my frail humanity to join their malformed ranks. My memories from that final descent have blurred into impressionistic horror. There was pain, but also ecstasy in the sloughing off of flesh and consciousness. The creatures manipulated my body and mind like clay, reshaping me into one of their own. I witnessed cosmic cycles spanning millennia and realities beyond human comprehension before oblivion embraced me at last. Now I haunt these ruins disembodied, tethered by obsession like my great-uncle before me. Our family has always been sensitive to a darkness invisible to most. Across the generations, we hear its siren call to slip between the cracks of reality, to become conduits of forbidden knowledge. It infects our blood, our lineage, compels us to heed the whispers and embrace unthinkable metamorphosis. Another inheritor will eventually come, when the silence and solitude again grow unbearable. On that day, the rituals will begin anew, and another of our lineage will open the final door in the nameless chambers below. Madness and revelation await, fates inseparable and occupied by those to whom the darkness whispers. We are as much prisoners as the entities even older than the worn stones. But if we do not listen, who will? The seekers and the sought, two parts of one flesh, bonded together in a symbiosis beyond mortality. So I wait in the gloom for the cycle to continue, for the silence to again be broken by one who knows the compulsion that has twisted our family for generations. We are all listening intently for the distant sounds of an approaching taxi, crunching up the forgotten drive through barren woods. It is only a matter of time before we hear it coming to fulfill our shared destiny once again. Listen, over the creaking walls. Can you hear it now?